Hi, and welcome to A Punk with Toys. My name is Lawrence, and in this classic review, the G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, we're going to be taking a look at the G.I. Joe Watchtower. Now, no, this is not my original. This is one that I recently got while I was down for training in Ohio, and I picked it up. It is complete, so it's not my original. But this one is. And it's seen better days. As a matter of fact, it's just a shell. And that's actually why I didn't do it earlier in the series when I was doing it, because it wasn't even close to being complete. But we're going to take a look at everything that this thing comes with, including like the sandbags, the reuse of the lights, the light in the gun. You got the flag and everything, your little steps. So we're going to take a look at this. I'd love to hear a story about this if you had it. I know there always seemed to be this little competition between this and the Checkpoint Alpha. This was easier to move around. They both had pieces that could be missing. But I always liked this because it really reminded me of a prison, like a Prison Break or a Vietnam movie that you might have seen. So anyway, tell me a story about this, but let's get into this. But before we do, if you like this type of stuff, you like when I drop these classic reviews, please take a second, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you're notified every time I drop a classic review. All right, so here we have the Watchtower, and like I said, here's my original. It's good for pictures. It's good to just have your little dial, I guess. But here is the one that I just recently got from Happy Pappy's in Canton, Ohio, of all places. So anyway, I'm going to take a look at this. We'll see the detail that they put into this. Again, that's the reason why I started doing stuff like this. So quickly, at the top, we can see the U.S. flag on one side, and then we have the G.I. Joe flag there, and we'll take a look at that. But first, and we'll quickly go, these are reuse from the G.I. Joe headquarters, all right? So we have the light. That the fact that these aren't broken is shocking. If you do have something like this and this is broken, use a little bit of sticky tack for your headquarters, for this, or for the other accessories that they may have come with. But anyway, there you can see that's supposed to be the light. There is no shield that goes over it. They don't move up and down, although you can see they molded it to make it look like it should. All right, and this is where it should swivel around. It's going to connect onto there. It is an awful design, but again, this is an 80s design, so you can't be too mad at them. I don't remember the sticker that's supposed to be there, but it is. We get the machine guns, which I always hated these machine guns. Even as a kid, I never fully understood them. Again, they have the same type of clip right there. You have one grip here. There's no trigger or anything. They don't even try and make it. Though the barrel, you can see that it does have holes. And then the tip of it kind of goes out a little bit. It has a big, huge system on it. So I don't think that this is based off anything realistic. But it came with the G.I. Joe headquarters, and I'm sure they were looking like, hey, what can we put on here to make this more playable? And this was one of it. I have to say, they should have redesigned this because it doesn't really fit that well in here. They could have kept that one. That's fine. All right, as I was kind of pointing out here, we have the American flag, the U.S. flag, not the American flag. There's lots of Americas considering it's North and South America. Anyway, we have the U.S. flag. You have your stars and stripes there. On the other side, we have the G.I. Joe flag. Okay, so you have G.I. Joe, honor, duty, courage. Now, I will say this, if they were to ever redo this, and if anyone from the classified team is watching, and you put a flag, you need to have a flag here, and then a smaller flag right there. The U.S. flag always goes on top. If you're in the United States, if you're in Canada, you don't put the U.S. flag on top, you put the Canadian flag. And then you put the other flag below it. That would be the correct thing, but we know they wouldn't do that because they'd be worried that, you know, oh my God, people don't like the U.S. Anyway, sorry. Here we go, and we're looking at this, and there are some really cool aspects to this, but again, it is so small that you can't really use all of them. So, as we look here, we can see the rivets that are kind of holding this steel together. You also have these slits. Now this is so you could poke your, put your gun out and fire. Now mind you, that has a big spot up here. So you're pretty much allowing the snipers to shoot at you. And because these figures can only crouch so much, it's really hard to get a figure down there. We get down here to the cross. You can see the rivets that are holding this together. The way they insert here. Now again, we're not putting these together. They're showing you that in reality, I'm assuming these are modular. When they were out in the fields and the jungles, they were able to make these, and they're very modular. They're going to just kind of plug in. They're going to rivet that stuff in. All the sides look very similar right here. All right, so the three sides look similar. These are the exact same on both sides. And then on this side here, we're going to have the ladder that's going to lead up. And then we have the door. So you don't want someone coming in here, although they can just reach over and get it. But maybe this doesn't really lock. But you can see the rivets in it. You can see the hinges. You can see where the handle is. It looks like maybe it's supposed to lock. It says to unlatch. All right. But this thing is going to swing open. And I want to be very careful with it. Because again, many years old. Obviously, you can see the inside of it. They did put some detail right there, so that it's going to latch together. And then right down there, we have bullets. So you have a little ammo box right there, and just thinking about that being molded in there. And then yes, it is a little dusty and dirty. It looks like, but you do have the grates in there, so it's going to be there's a little less chance of slipping. All right. On the top, we have the sandbags, and I love the sandbags. I also love that they're not just like one big sandbag. So you have 4 individual sandbags. They are different because this one you need a hole so you can put the U.S. flag on it, or the G.I. Joe flag, whichever one you want to call it. All right. Now, these are supposed to peg down on here. As you can see, this one struggles. This one actually stays down pretty well. I need to probably heat these up and try and pop them down. This one here, I don't know how I got a sandbag. I think from Johnny Reno, to be honest. It looks like it has the same problem. And it's the same one, to be honest. So, it was all these little things. Now, these were one of the things you were going to lose really quickly because they popped off, if I remember correctly. But you could also put them down on the ground and kind of stack them up and have them firing over them. I remember doing that plenty of times also. But you have these 2 little pegs here. They push down on it. If you have it now and you're doing this, I will reiterate, if you are doing this, first off, I would probably heat it up. But don't push down like this. You'll have a tendency to break this out, break the snaps. You want to hold it like this and then push it down. All right. So you can see it kind of went down right there, but it tends to push right back up. So that's how this is supposed to look. Now what we're going to do is just lift this up a little bit. We're going to pop this right in here. Now you have a figure here, and we'll go with dial tone. You're going to have to, I mean, if you want him in here, he can fit perfect. So he fits perfect in this one, right? He's perfect for that because he has this big old backpack. But you try and put this gun on it, it's going to be a pain. Also, if you want to shoot him through, if you want him to shoot through here, let's say rock and roll, you're going to have a really hard time doing it. Although, if it's just pointing out, you don't really notice. Once you drop the gun here, and I will say this, don't think that it's not lost on me that the light is pointing that way and the gun is this way. You can't really do much. Maybe you have another one that's right next to it and the gun is pointing that way and the light's pointed that way. I guess that's, once we put them in here, all right, there's no pegs inside, and I would not suggest trying to put his hand on this because I have a feeling this probably broke a lot of thumbs. But again, you're playing with a 3.75 figure from the 80s. The fact that you still have it is miraculous in itself. But there you go. That is the look of this wonderful toy. I love this. I may have liked this a little bit more than Checkpoint Alpha. I say don't tell anyone, but I just told everyone. Anyway, there you go. I think it's time to wrap this up. And I want to hear a story that you had about this. All right, so there you have it. That is the G.I. Joe Watchtower with everything, you know, your door that opens. Again, a lot of playability, but a very small amount of room in there. If you want to have a figure with a backpack, a gun, the gun that comes with it, the light, again. And if you remember, again, on the artwork, I believe it is a roadblock in it, and Gung-Ho is climbing up to get into it with him. I mean, technically, there's no way he could be getting down, and I don't know what Gung-Ho would be doing. Getting in there with Roadblock, who, in my opinion, were like the two physically biggest G.I. Joes. But anyway, tell me a story about this if you had it. Maybe it's one that you wanted. Maybe you traded this for the Watchtower or the Checkpoint Alpha, or maybe vice versa. Who knows? It's your story. That's what I want to hear. But before we do, you stayed this long, please take a second, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you're notified every time I drop a classic review. Now, don't go anywhere, because what I am going to do is I'm going to drop another classic review up here, and down here will be a playlist of all the classic reviews that I've done. Take care.